The best advertising is done by satisfied customers. Good companies will meet needs. Great companies will create markets. These words were said by the acknowledged marketing guru of this century, Philip Kotler. This episode of the Edge podcast brings to you the start of a nascent journey of the marketing team of Clearly Blue Digital. CB, as this company is known for short, is an environment of experiments and experiences that three musketeers, budding marketeers, Sneha Prakash, Aishwarya Kandakur, and Sakshi Sapani are dipping their toes in. They share how they got into marketing, what it's taken so far to learn the ropes, and what they feel aspiring marketeers should keep in mind. Listen on. Hi, I am Chitra.
I'm Madhvi.
I am Jyoti.
I'm Padmaja.
Together we are your hosts
On the Edge podcast.
We bring you stories and experiences
From our experiments around learning, marketing, and design.
These are stories of people, technology,
And people interacting through technology.
of what we see, create,
And recommend.
So, hi Sakshi, hi Sneha, hi Aishwarya. A very warm welcome to all three of you on the Edge podcast. I'm really excited and looking forward to today's conversation because I have never had a conversation with a marketing team. In fact, to me, marketing was something so new and something that people in that other department did for the longest time in my life because I spent most of my life as an engineer. And until I got product responsibilities, I never even made an attempt to understand what marketing is. But today, as we all know, it's a very powerful function in any organization, helping the organization, its products, go to market, and also connecting with the way people perceive a company and engage with us, right? So let's see how today's conversation goes. So the first thing I'd like to start by asking you, Aishwarya, is how did you get into the world of marketing? What attracted you to it and what got you in it?
Yeah, thanks for the warm welcome, Chitra. As you said, marketing is now a must and powerful tool for all companies. And for me, the story of how I jumped into the marketing domain is actually very all of a sudden and spontaneous. So I just completed my bachelor's and I joined Clearly Blue. And initially I was working on healthcare marketing. And as and when time progressed, I jumped into other domains also, which is like technology, e-learning, recruitment. And simultaneously, I also developed my own dance career. So that also required some sort of marketing of myself. So that was a short story of how I came into this picture.
That's very interesting, Aishwarya, and I have a few more questions for you coming up. But before that, Sneha, let's check in with you and see how you came to do marketing.
Thanks, Chitra, for asking this question. Marketing and I've been this person who always asked any kind of questions to Google. Anything I had, I Googled. It was like, so that is how I wanted to learn how Google functions, how pages pop up, and I wanted to learn the science behind how everything works on the SEO, and that is how I learned more about marketing also. Google was the first step that captivated me, and that is how I'm here.
That's a very interesting take, significantly different from Aishwarya's, but then that's how we all are as individuals. Sakshi, what's your story like?
So my story goes like, I think during the lockdown I first explored digital marketing, and there was so much to learn about it as to how it begins and how tools work, and it's a vast topic. So for me, I think once I started learning marketing and then we tried to implement it on our small business, there's a lot of trial and error there, and then when I joined Clearly Blue, I got into the marketing team, and there's some learning every day. So that's my story.
I know you did run a business of your own for a while.
Yeah.
What kind of marketing did you do there?
Over there, we started, so when I say we, it's me and my sister. So we started with small promotional ads on Instagram, and we put in some amount and tried to spread the business, and yes, that's how we began.
But how did marketing either help your business or not?
Initially, we did not see results, but later we read more about it and we saw that this is how marketing works. You do not see results as soon as you put in money or do whatever. But after that, maybe I think it took us about 3 to 4 months, and then we started seeing some sort of results, some sort of engagement and visitors to our profile. Yeah.
So, Aishwarya, you also pursue a lot of other interests and hobbies which you've also somewhat turned into multiple careers for yourself.
Right.
How has marketing, same question as I had for Sakshi, how has marketing helped you or not? And what did you learn from that experience?
Yeah, as Sakshi said, you never see the results instantly. It takes some time, and marketing requires a lot of patience at first because you cannot have a certain expectation that you will hit so many followers or you will hit so many visits, etc. What you can do is be consistent with what you put out. If it's your brand image, the content you put out, and engaging with your followers or network, that matters a lot. And of course the marketing part will come naturally when you do that. As you said, handling multiple careers, I've learned different stuff, and I kind of cross network it together and make it happen. So yes, it's slowly progressing now.
That's interesting, and we'll come back to cross networking as you call it. But to the question on being consistent and constantly having to engage with your audience, how do you do that? Because being consistent means, sort of waking up every morning and say, okay, I have to do this and I will do this. Right? It's almost like building it as a habit. How did that happen for you? And then probably Snegha, you can build on that afterwards. So how did that happen for you, Aishwarya?
Yeah, I guess as you said, as soon as I wake up, the first thing would be open social media and check out who has started following you newly, or is there someone you know. Directly send them a request. Never hold back in such matters. If you know anyone, be the first one to take the step and make a connection request, because it's all about making genuine and valid connections on social media rather than just having ghost connections. And it's a habit, as you said. Just as in when we come to office, we greet each other and interact with each other. The same thing applies on the online world also. So as and when you keep doing that, it gradually picks up and you see a curve, an upward curve of how your social media profile or website is increasing in terms of visits and likes, all that, reactions.
Nice, Aishwarya. So, Snegha, your approach was more of a technical one. It was important for you to understand the how does this work part of marketing, and you said what intrigued you was how search engine optimization works. So coming back to the consistency question, how has that been for you to be consistent with what you do towards, let's say, getting more visitors or driving for better engagement?
So from the SEO point of view, that is search engine optimization point of view, it is almost, search engine is synonymous with Google. So I constantly go through the latest updates Google has, how it ranks pages, how it shows, displays our search results, all of that, the progress that Google is doing day to day. I observe that, I consistently learn that, so that will help me keep track of the website, the visitors, and what works for the page. From the back end point of view, whatever works, how the content should be optimized, images, how they work, certain tools that are there. So I constantly ensure that I learn and observe the changes that is happening in the search engines.
So what do you say has changed in the last 2 years that you've been actively involved with the marketing team in terms of search engine optimization tools and with the onset of ChatGPT? What do you think has changed?
Earlier, a lot of things we had to do manually. Back end, we had to incorporate code tools, and then later there were optimization tools that were like plugins that came in. Now it's all completely automated. Even the plugins are not almost needed. The website page itself does everything for us. So there's 2 years, over this 2 years, I've seen a lot of automation coming in, and there's a reduce of manual efforts that was there.
So, do you think that with the reduction of manual effort, somebody that's stepping into the world of marketing now, would they find it easier, or do you feel that there is something that they need to learn and know before actually doing something?
There's a challenge there because they need to understand, because when we see tools, there are multiple websites, multiple tools available, and so many options. There are a lot of challenges. That person who's coming in as a fresher needs to learn each of the tool, how each operates, and understanding that, and all of that may not work for their own personal website. So it is a lot of trial and error now, more than it was before. So that's a bigger challenge.
Okay, yeah, I thought as much, because when you sort of learn things from scratch in terms of how they work, for example, if you're using WordPress and then you know that there are certain plugins that you have to add in, and for that you kind of build a code and you integrate it with the website, and then you know that yes, the plugin is integrated. And then there is a certain set of steps that you follow, let's say, that starts with keyword research in terms of optimizing your content, everything to drive up the visibility and searchability of your page. Whereas if you had things that did it for you all the time, I think that would definitely add to the burden of even figuring out which one to use for what, isn't it?
Yes.
And in case if something goes wrong, we may not know what is going wrong, how to fix it, because we don't know how and why such things are operating. So that is another challenge.
I think we should do another episode on the over automation of things at some point in time. So a lot of, at least I know Aishwarya and Sakshi, you've had experience with more of a B2C business. What happens in a B2B business? How do you look at marketing in a B2B business? And we'll start with Sakshi.
So I think when it comes to marketing, it's easier done with B2C because whatever effort you put, you see some sort of results. But when it comes to B2B, it is a challenge because before getting started, you need to know your audience, you need to know what they like, and then you specifically have to target a set of audience. So when it comes to that, it is a challenge, and you need to get started with I think the way we started was to know the kind of industries we were targeting and see what they were liking, and then we start our marketing. When it comes to marketing, it's not just to do things back end, it even applies on page. That is what we do on social media. So you need to see what your audience is liking and create things similarly so that you get the kind of engagement you're expecting. Yeah, that's with B2C and B2B what I have.
So in your experience, how have you just said that you wake up in the morning and the minute you see that somebody new has engaged with what you've put out, you make it a point to connect with them, and it somehow seems a little easier to establish that one-on-one connect with people. However, businesses connect with a lot of people, right? And that's the challenge there. So what do you have to add to what Sakshi said, Aishwarya?
Yeah, exactly. Rather than saying that B2C and B2B are on the different sides, it is on the same side, but the kind of audience that we are targeting is different. As she said, it's a very niche audience, and it takes time for a person to recognize a brand and understand what business they do instead of just following the page instantly. So there you have to be very good at presenting your brand presence, be it in the about section or through the visuals that are seen as soon as you open the page. So that matters a lot here. And as when we talk about connections, yeah, it is a bit slow here. I feel in B2B, quality is more important than quantity.
Snegha, what do you feel?
When it comes to B2C, I feel we never know what works. The reach is a bit easier, I feel, when it comes to B2C. But B2B being a very specific domain, it takes a lot of time to get into that and reach a specific target audience. That's what I think.
So it kind of goes back, I think, to the point where all of you all said you need some patience, when you need some time. What I have noticed, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that in the B2B space, you have to spend time with knowing the various aspects of your business and then see how to position it out there amidst so many other businesses either doing the same thing. And I think everybody is out there struggling to find that differentiator, right? What sets us apart? We are not just another marketing agency, but so how do you discover that USP or the differentiator or the alternative in your sentence or in your positioning that will cause people to stand up and say that, hey, let me look at these people, they appear to be different.
So I think it again comes back to how you present yourself on social media. It's not just about, you can't just keep telling what you do. You first have to start with who you are, and that's very important. Once you get started with who you are, then you can slowly get into what you can do for the other company or whoever your client there is.
In a way, the social media platforms act as a portfolio. They showcase who we are, what we do, and that must be very clear. If we are able to brand ourselves, it could be from the brand colors, it could be showcasing our services. There must be a consistency again from the brand colors. If they suppose we recognize brands through their colors, the fonts they use, the images, the logos, and everything. So we have to follow. We cannot change it continuously as we want. It has to be consistent for a period of time, and we have to register so that we register in the minds of the audience.
As you said, it's important to know what our brand is before we present it on the outside. So that comes with constant learning. Every day we learn something new about our brand, actually speaking. Like if you talk to different people of your organization, they tell you different aspects, and through that collectively you gain so much knowledge that you yourself get shocked that, oh, we present ourselves like this too. So it's on social media, it's not, the key is to not being salesy, but to presenting yourself as a knowledgeable brand where
Or presenting yourself in a way where people really get to know who you are.
yeah, it's more about who we are rather than what we do, because what we do comes as a part and parcel on the website and on the social media page, but in terms of engagement, it's more about who we are and what we can offer as a knowledgeable partner rather than a services partner.
So, if I were to go back to my original question, do you say that by helping people discover who you are, that itself can create a differentiator?
Definitely, that I think when you begin with letting them know and helping them understand who they are, that covers I think about 40% of your job. You're done with 40% of it, and once they start showcasing themselves, that does most of it. So it's very important for people to establish who they really are before really putting themselves out there.
So, what are some of the companies in your research and opinion that have done a really good job of telling people and the world who they are?
The best example I can bring to my mind is Amul Butter. They have been doing a phenomenal job since I don't even know when they started it. But any happening around the world, they're one of the first people to present that with an element of their brand, and it goes in so smoothly, just like their butter, that it's sometimes very pleasing to just go and see their post. So and they've maintained it with such great consistency. That's remarkable. I think that's a very good example of simple, subtle marketing, but yet very impactful.
Very nicely said, Aishwarya. And personally, for me, the Amul branding and that girl there,
Yeah.
I think have just stood the test of time. They have stayed current, they've stayed consistent, they are so tuned in to what's happening every day.
Yes.
They manage to find something to put out there, and it's certainly one of the things that I look forward to in the morning newspaper.
Right.
The brand that comes to my mind is TEDx. Because anytime I want to learn about a topic or want some motivation speech, that is where I go to, because they cover a wide variety of speakers, experts from various domains. So that is my go-to for anything that I want to learn, get a bit of motivation when I'm low. So that is my one-stop solution. That is TEDx.
Yeah, I think I have something to share here. I have a variety of interests across various topics. So, over the years, I'm an avid podcast listener. So, I have always been interested about policy. So, I listen to this thing called All Things Policy. And then there's the Mahabharata podcast, which is very distinct because it has the whole Gita Pradesh, Krishna and Arjuna on the chariot. And the minute I see that and a little blue dot there, I know they have a new episode. Very easy. And the third podcast that really gets my attention is called The Hidden Brain. And just between these three in the last couple of years, I've seen so much consistency. I always know that there'll be something interesting to look forward in that. And I just like the simplicity with which they tell things, and that's what has really stuck with me. Okay, so in terms of, y'all have come together as a marketing team for Clearly Blue in the last year or so. What are some of the challenges that you all faced? As individuals, each one of you has an understanding of what marketing is and what it needs to do for the company and so on. But when you all came together as a team, what were some of the challenges that you all faced when you started off working towards, a common purpose, common objectives? What was that like?
So as a team, even though we faced such challenges individually, we were somewhere facing the same challenges when we came as a team. So initially when we started marketing for each of our brands, there was no progress. So we look at the analytics and we don't see the kind of progress we are expecting. But I think more when we started doing more of it and when we understood more about marketing, that's when we realized that it is a slow process. You will not get results as soon as you do something. You really have to stay consistent, and then you end up seeing results maybe after 6 months, but you definitely see results. So that was one challenging point as a team that we faced, but now we know how to get over it. We've overcome this for sure by now.
Patience is the key.
Is that the only thing? Or what were some of the other challenges? How did you all come to work together as a team?
I think initially there were some differences, like each of us handled the specific task in a different way. Then we sat together and kind of streamlined the process. And that's where all of our challenges and our strength points came in. One is not able to understand or crack a certain thing, the other is able to pitch in. So that blended in well, and as you said, teamwork always made it happen. And speaking about results, yes, in the beginning it was a sad feeling for us. But then we also understood that it's not just about the efforts, it's about the algorithm also. That the algorithm, it demands consistency, and it takes time to make us recognized on the platform. So that's how it happened. And we also had a mentor, Pavitra, who really helped us figure out where we can tackle the challenges and win over the obstacles rather.
One of the major challenge that we faced was understanding how the website or our social media works. Like how a posts are working, how blogs are working, and finding out and understanding what Google Analytics shows us, the data, how to interpret, and the Google Search Console, and the various other tools that we were using for website optimization and all. Understanding those was the first challenge that we had. Then slowly how to streamline the process, what we have to do to get the desired results. That was the next step that we had to.
So if you had to, let's say there was a company that came to you and said, hey, we are new and here's what we'd like done. Okay, we want the world to know who we are, what we do. How do you help them get started? What's the first thing that you do? And each one of you there's no golden rule to this approach. So
I think the first approach would be branding. So once they have their brand in place, only then it makes sense to do the marketing aspect of the brand.
So what does branding mean to you?
For me, branding is for them to get in place their website, their logo, or their colors by the way they want to get recognized. That's what branding is for me. So once a team has that in place, then marketing comes into picture and so on. There's optimization of the website, and it's all about how you showcase yourself.
The company or the client, if they're clear with who they are and where they want to be, at least in the near future. If they are clear with that, I think we can help.
How do you get them to articulate who they are?
So maybe we can check with them like what they do, their vision, the goals, what they're currently doing and where they want to be, so that we get to know that they can understand who they really are and their target audience, where they want to be, and all of that. If we understand, once that is in place, I think we can go about with website optimization. That is a like step on step process that happens. But first thing is they have to understand who they are and where they want to be.
So, in your experience, what have been some of these challenging moments with customers?
Sometimes they want to go over the board with how they are going ahead with the content. But sometimes it is good to reduce it a bit down and play it low. Every time putting out high volume content is not a real necessity.
So, you mean like just putting stuff
Yeah,
out because you want to put
Yes,
something out there?
yes.
Yeah.
Because when there's no one receiving the kind of things you're putting out there, it doesn't make sense to just keep posting things or
Yeah.
whatever you're doing at that point.
So, how do you actually educate somebody that there is a way of doing this, or there are multiple ways of doing this, and how do you actually send the message that you can't expect magic overnight, but it takes time to happen? How have you done that? If you haven't done it directly yourself, then how have you seen people do it? You must have been in conversations where you feel that the customer is going off on a tangent and you really have to gently bring them back to where all of y'all are sitting together around the same table and looking at the same issues. How do you do that?
So I think when it comes to showing them the aspect of things don't work overnight, you definitely need to acknowledge what they are feeling, because if you don't do that, then yeah, they're just gone. But you need to acknowledge that part of it, because everyone can feel vulnerable when it comes to their business, right? So you need to acknowledge their feelings and then just bring them back. And I think case studies do wonders when it comes to this. You need to have all your experience with your other customers in place so that you can show it to your later on coming customers, and then this is how it works. You just make them sit and you show some of your case studies and be like, hey, this is how it works, this is what you are expecting out of us, but definitely we are going to put in our best. So I think that would be one of our approach.
In case if they are our current customers, first thing, as she said, we have to acknowledge them, and the second thing is maybe we can show them some results, something they've done. We can tell them, see, this is working. So you have to, these are the things that whatever you're doing is working, but slow down and we have to be patient so that it can reach better. You can get where you want to, but slow down is what we have to show them the results first, so they'll get the assurance.
Just before we close this podcast, I think there have been some very interesting conversations that have happened here. If y'all had a message to share with people who wanted to take up or build a career in digital marketing, what would you tell them?
I think the fancy courses are really not all that you need for a proper hands-on digital marketing. Experience matters more, and the best way you could do is by landing an internship where you learn and practice it on the go. Because we also we didn't undergo a formal course. Yes, we did have a course run by our mentor Pavitra, which was on the basics of digital marketing. But along with that, it was the on-the-run practice that we did to our in-house brands that made us learn something like a good amount of knowledge on digital marketing. So it's more about experience than learning.
As she said, there's no specific course or something that you have to take, the one-on-one, digital marketing one-on-one. That is not required. All of us have mobile phones in hand, we have social media, and we Google instantly. So observe how Google is working, how social media is working, how your favorite influencers are reaching out to people. If you observe that, and not just watching the reel, but how the reel is working, how such posts work. If you change that perspective and observe from your day-to-day life, I think you can better understand, because it will be a self-learning. If you want to learn something, you can Google it again, read about it. So that will help you in the longer run. That is what I feel.
I believe that being constant and flexible to new ideas and what's happening out there, say there are new trends coming up almost every week. So definitely you are definitely learning about these trends, but to be flexible and adapt to those trends is very important when you're a marketer.
Nicely said, all of you. So before we go, I want to say a big thank you for having come here and done this podcast. I'm sure there's a lot of takeaways for many people here. Thank you all once again.
Thank you so much.
Please subscribe to the Edge podcast on your favorite podcast channel. We are on Google, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and more. If you liked this episode, please share it with your friends. If you have stories to share and want to be featured on our podcast, write to us at podcasts@adepticlabs.com.